Okay, so today we're looking at population change in Mexico. We're going to understand the impacts of Mexico's young and increasing population. Previously, we've looked at aging and declining population in Japan, and also some population policies focusing on the one-child policy in China. But here we're going to take a look at what happens when a country has a young and an increasing population, what impacts that can have on the country. So, to start off looking at the picture, we notice that we can see all the way across these hills on the outskirts of Mexico City, which is one of the largest cities in the world. We can see people's houses spread out across those hills. Now, the reason those houses are there is because of overpopulation, right? An increasing population, and we need to find space for all of those people to live. So it's ended up with these houses expanding outwards and outwards and outwards from the city centre onto these hills and into these shanty towns or these slums that you can see on the outskirts of the city there. So for this lesson, what we want to be able to understand is what these impacts of this young and increasing population will be, both positive and negative. So first of all, we need to know where Mexico is. All right, so we run through this very quickly. Mexico is just south of the USA, right, a Latin American Spanish-speaking country, and it's very close. Obviously, we've got a border with the USA, so close to one of the richest countries in the world. So looking at Mexico City then, a huge city, a large population, and it's got those shanty towns that are spreading out from the centre. But it is a huge city. It's got about 17 million people, so about twice the size of London. So what we want to look at is three things really. What is happening to the population of Mexico? Why is this happening? And what are the impacts, or what does this actually mean for the country in the future? Both positive and negative. So if we look here, we can see lots of different statements about Mexico, about how the population is changing and what those impacts might be. So you can have a look back inside your books, the ones that you cut up in class, and you can have a look where you've placed these in your table. Just to give you an idea, and just to recap what we went over in class, we've got some ideas about here of what is happening to Mexico's population. So first of all, Mexico has a large youthful population, lots of young people. Under 15s, which remember is the young dependents, that makes up to 31% of the population. So almost a third of all of Mexico's population is under 15. Then, in addition to that, we've got the average age in Mexico being 26. Compare that to Japan, it's as old as 44, so a much younger average age as well. And the population has grown from just 20 million in 1940 up to approaching 110 million now. So you can see the rapid increase that we've got there. And this obviously has happened because of several reasons. And those reasons can include things such as the life expectancy has increased. People are living longer in Mexico. Things like childhood vaccinations, better healthcare. This has increased people's life expectancy. It means they're living longer. It means that death rate is falling. In addition to that, there is still a fertility rate which is above the replacement level. So that means that people are having more children than it would need to replace them. So that's causing that population to increase further and further and further. Now, most importantly, what we want to look at here is we want to look at those impacts, okay, those impacts on the country, both positive and negative, from having such a young and such a rapidly increasing population. What problems can this cause, first of all? Now, we went through some of these in class. Have a look back at your notes. Have a look about what was written on the board and what you put in your books. And these are the ones that we came up with, the most important ones that we came up with. So if you've got an increasing population, and obviously a very young population, that's going to require an increase in the number of school places. All right? You've got those young people, they need to be educated, but there's more and more of them. So there needs to be an increase in the number of school places. So that can put pressure on the educational system. It could mean that there will be children or young people who don't get the education that they need, and therefore maybe won't be able to get the jobs in the future that they need. So it could affect the economy in that way. It could mean that there needs to be more teachers, or there needs to be more schools built. So that could put pressure on the economy in that way as well. All right, these young people, it could lead to unemployment. So many young people, not enough jobs, that could lead to unemployment. And with that, it's going to mean that young people are going to try and move elsewhere to find jobs. And that's why in Mexico there's such a huge rate of people migrating to the USA. trying to get there, quite often illegally, to find work. So it's affecting that young population, it's causing them to move to find that work. Another knock-on effect from that unemployment could mean an increase in crime. If there's lots of people out of work, through desperation, people are going to go to extreme measures to try and find a way of of getting money to be able to support themselves. Now, also, we looked at the fact with all these houses being spread across outskirts of Mexico City, it's leading to poor living conditions. Those things we call shanty towns or slums. All right, it's creating an expanse of these shanty towns and slums, moving outwards from the centre of the city, and this can lead to people living in poverty, a lack of services, things like a lack of sanitation, so they haven't got the basic hygiene, a lack of water, a lack of schools, and also a lack of healthcare. Okay, so people could be living in these conditions, just like the picture that you saw at the start of the lesson. Pollution as well could be a major problem. With an increase in people, you're going to have an increase in pollution. All the different types of pollution you can think of. You're going to have an increase in the amount of fossil fuels that are used, releasing those emissions into the atmosphere. You're also going to have an increase in sewage, so you're going to create pollution that way, and also you're going to have an increase in noise pollution in addition to that. So you've got all different types of pollution being caused due to this increase in population. Then we've also got in the bottom corner there, abortion legalized in an attempt to reduce the number of abandoned children. So Mexico is a Catholic country, so abortion was illegal, but they've had to legalize it because of the amount of babies that have been abandoned due to this increasing population. So recently, those abortions have been legalized. Okay, but those are all the negatives. But there are also some positives that you can see from this impact of this increasing population and young population. One of the main positives that you need to hold on to here is the fact there has been an increase in manufacturing, providing jobs for these young people. And that has led Mexico to now become the 7th largest economy in the world. Okay, so it's projected to overtake the UK soon as the 7th largest economy in the world. So we've got a positive there, a positive for the economy. Another thing might be people sending money back when they've gone to the USA and found jobs, sending money back to their families in Mexico. So we've looked at the impacts there. We've got positives and we've got negatives of this young and increasing population. So what we looked at, final thing in the lesson, we looked at an exam question. Okay, so using examples, what are the impacts of a young and increasing population? So when you're answering this question, you need to think of Mexico. You need to think of both the positives and the negatives and get those in your answer using the clear examples that we've run through in this lesson. So make sure you look back over your books.
We will